We are in a bit of a jumble, aren't we? Welcome to Arm Wrestling with COVID-19 in London. This is number 30. I'm tempted to say that it's one of my occasional YouTube episodes, but occasional is becoming uncomfortably regular these days. So I hope that I'll be able to slow down. But I wanted to have a quick word with you today and share a thought that is niggling at me. I woke up this morning to the mellifluous, albeit increasingly parochial tones of the Radio 4 Today program. And the main item of news was the fact that suddenly, out of the blue, the British government, our government, had decided to remove Spain from the A list of countries that we could travel to. What does that mean? That means that if you and I go to Spain today or tomorrow, anywhere in Spain, and then we come back, we're no longer exempt from the 14-day quarantine, but we have to stay indoors in self-confinement for 14 days. Why? Because over the past 10 days, the coronavirus cases in Spain, particularly in Madrid, in the Catalonia and Galicia regions, has been increasing quite substantially. And therefore, the government thought that it should act now and take Spain off the A list. And guess what? Countries like France and Germany are also, I think, or I understand, under consideration these days. So we might get another surprise when we wake up tomorrow morning or in 3 days' time. But this is not my usual rant. I'm not going to sort of say, why is the government doing that, etc., etc. I've heard travel agents, I've heard businessmen, I've heard people coming and saying, this is unacceptable. Why did they have to do a blanket application of this quarantine policy for the whole of Spain? What about the islands where the cases are far fewer than those in the mainland? No, not a rant today. I understand fully what the government is doing. The government is trying to protect us, you and I. Because if people go to Spain and then they come back carrying the virus, whether they're asymptomatic carriers, in other words, they don't show the symptoms, or whether they come and have the symptoms, the likelihood that they would transmit this virus, this COVID-19 to us is much higher. And at a time when we in the UK, across all 4 nations, have really sacrificed a lot, and I mean a lot, over 3.5, 4 months of lockdown, guidelines, public health rulings, etc., etc., suddenly to have to face yet again another lockdown or another SOS because of our action, I think that is unacceptable. So on that level, I thank the government for what it has actually done. But I have a little problem. The problem is the following. If the government, as I understood on the Today program with the interviews that the presenters were doing, if the government had been aware that this rate was increasing, that the cases were ramping up in Spain, was it not the right thing to do to advise us, to warn us, to alert the British public, so that those people who flocked to Spain, including our transport minister, by the way, would have taken this into consideration when making the booking, rather than suddenly on a Saturday night, in the heart of the weekend, spring on us this exemption. That is one thought that I have. And this is where the either jumbled up or intelligently deliberate policy of the government is being deployed. And if this happened just overnight, imagine the reaction of the British public, all those travelers. Okay, so I can't go to Spain, but maybe I can go to, I don't know, France, to Germany, to some other country that is exempt from quarantines. Would I do it? Or would I be frightened that, hey, wait, if I do this and go there, and then 2 days later, 3 days later, while I'm enjoying the beautiful scenes in France and Germany, suddenly the government tells me, you know what? You have to come back into quarantine. How would I react to that? I probably wouldn't go. And of course, that impacts the travel business, the travel industry, the travel agencies. So on the one hand, I say thank you to the government for taking this action. But at the same time, I say, please treat us as adults. Don't treat us as kids. And let us make our own decisions. I leave it at that today. I don't want to say any more. I just keep my fingers crossed that this is not yet another example that the whole of the European continent will be buffeted by another resurgence soon. And I wish you a safe week ahead. Take care.